This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of Superman and Lois, Season 4, Episode 8, titled Sharp Dressed Man, and another incredible episode. They are doing just such a great job with this season. While this is nowhere near as incredible as last week's, it still is a really solid episode. Weakest point probably is just Jonathan's relationship problems, and I mean, that's technically resolved off screen, which is probably one of my only complaints of this episode. But besides that, this episode is absolutely insane. It has a few just crazy moments. My other actual complaint is that I feel like they could have went more into Jonathan and Jordan's life after being exposed, as well, not really exposed, but revealing that they are superheroes. And I think that and more looking at Clark and Lois's life could have been beneficial. I don't know, because there's 2 episodes left, and I feel like with the time they have, they did do enough, and the only other way to do it really is to add an extra episode in, and I would just sort of extend the plot too far, so I see what they did, but I just wish that in terms of like time management, they found a way to put a little more in to look at what the ramifications of them going public with their identities was like. But just going back to the episode, we get a small little wrap up to something from last season where we learn that Lois is completely cancer free and she can now be finished with the cancer treatments. So that is a nice storyline, but that's just, a small thing to wrap up something from the previous season. And while there's a chance that we can learn that Lex Luthor had her test results messed with, I don't think it will, because that just feels a little like a low level move, and the show has just been so incredible. I don't think it will go that way. I'll be fine if it does, but I just feel like that would be a twist for a twist's sake. So, just continuing through this, we have just so many great things. Well, one is a return of Tom Kavanaugh to DC, and while he is not playing the Reverse Flash, or a version of Harrison Wells for, well, the first time really ever in DC, it was just a really great time to see him as the character of G. Gordon Godfrey, and if there was more seasons of this, it could be teasing something like Darkseid coming. But very clearly, he's just supposed to be a normal journalist in this universe, and similar to the DCAU, he's just a kind of scummy journalist who is just looking for the best ratings. So there's that, but then really that entire interview was really well done. Clark was really right the entire time, and we see that at the end that it was a little bit of ego from Lois that was going to go with this, and Luthor just did a great job of destroying hers, and to at least a partial extent, Clark's reputation. It did bring up the point that I brought up last week, which is the fact that Superman has been written by Lois, and that's all been tainted by her since she is, well, the wife of Superman. So that is just it's pretty predictable, but obvious fact that they need to bring up. And I'm glad they did because, as I said, it's a little predictable they'd have to bring it up, but it's something that they. Well, that's because it's something that is really important to mention for a person who wants to tear down Lois Lane and her reputation. So I am totally fine with that. And just going through this, it is just so great to see Lex being just a complete monster. As I mentioned last week, it is also really nice to see him in his classic Lex Luthor look without any hair besides, well, like eyebrows, but, completely bald, not having a beard. And I just really love that look. That stuff where he's fallen in love with his assistant named Amanda, and I don't know, I keep thinking Amanda Waller, but obviously it's not going to be Amanda Waller because, well, they're not going to do a casting like that for Amanda Waller, so it's probably just a coincidence I'm thinking of, and nothing will become of that specifically, but I just really have been enjoying this. I think that it's interesting that Lex sort of has this fear of what seems stuff not being in his control, but it could be of others or I don't know exactly fully what it could be. I think a person who's better qualified could say what that is, but I don't know. I was having a feeling it might be, germs, might be other people. Maybe it's large groups, but I'm interested to see what this fear actually is. Because Lois mentioned that he wasn't comfortable ever being on TV. So I do wonder what this specific fear was. But I also like how they were able to manipulate things, and just before they were able to turn around to their favor, that the Luthor was able to send in that suit sent by who I'm assuming is Toyman. And that's just more from his toy reference, but also, I don't know, I just had that feeling from even before he said, something like you have a lot of cool toys or something like that, that this was going to be Toyman. And there's one of those things where, at the back of my mind, there was that little car accident thing. I was like, this is probably somehow or some way set up by Lex because it's just too random to not to be. And, well, this is a movie where the will show where they're gonna go with Chekhov's gun and actually pay off something. And yeah, I think that is pretty interesting to see just how crazy this is getting because the stealing of John Henry's suit to turn it into that classic Lex Luthor war suit's gonna be awesome. I think we very clearly need to see it get a new paint job and just have it get that iconic look. I think we also have to have in that final fight the helmet either be taken off or for Superman to rip it off because that's just gonna complete this perfect look. But that's really all I have to say about this week's episode. We'll talk about next week's. It looks like they're gonna be going into the topic of should they just kill Lex Luthor? And well, obviously they're not gonna do that because Superman isn't a killer, with the exception of Doomsday, because Doomsday's more or less just a mindless monster, and Superman knows that he's never going to stop. Plus, there's also the fact that they've retconned in that, well, not for this show, but for comics, that Doomsday can't die, so Superman can't actually kill him. So that's like the one time Superman is willing to take life is if it's a completely unstoppable monster that threatens the entire world. So I'd be interested to see if he would ever be willing to go to those ends with Darkseid. In the DCAU, he was, but I don't know about other versions. Oh, actually, there is one more thing I need to talk about with this. Something I nearly forgot about. And that's the fact that Clark is slowly losing his powers and eventually will just become a normal human and will die a lot younger than he would have because obviously Kryptonians can still die, but him losing his original heart and getting Sam Lane's meant that the extraordinarily long life he most likely would have lived was going to be very quickly cut short. And, well, depending on how old Sam Lane was, considering both Clark and Lois are probably in their 40s or 50s, I'm assuming Sam Lane is probably in his 70s or maybe early 80s. So Clark really probably only has 20 to 30 years left. But I'm interested to see if there's something resolved with it at the end where something's given to him to make him return to his normal life, or if it just stays the same. Because with this show, I think they could go either way. But yeah, honestly, I'm excited to see what they do. Can't wait for next week, and the finale is going to probably be absolute insanity. I just really, well, I'm both excited and disappointed this show will be ending because it'll be between another amazing show that will end. And it's happened with a lot of great shows. It seems like Penguin won't be getting a season two, although if they do it another show, I think it's still gonna be great. But specifically, we will be seeing Penguin again in the Batman 2. And then I have probably one of my favorite shows ever, being Andor. That'll be ending next year. So, and then we have this show ending in just 2 weeks. So yeah, honestly, I'm both disappointed, but also just really excited to see this end. And only disappointment is in the fact that we won't be getting any more, but it's gonna be better for this to go off on a high note than them to keep forcing it out and just having some absolutely terrible final season like The Flash did last year. And I'm still not over that, how they just completely ruined that season with such poor and lazy writing. And the fact that they also want to focus on characters that weren't The Flash. But I'm talking about Superman and Lois, and the only reason that's in the back of my mind is that Tom Kavanaugh was in this episode. Hope we get to see him over the next 2 episodes because he did such a great job in this, and yeah, I'm obviously thinking a lot of Harrison Wells, and I feel like of all of them, he was closest in terms of personality, or little things to sort of a combination of Harry and HR. Like movement wise, I feel like he felt a lot like HR with more of that darker but still fun personality of Harry. But yeah, honestly, really can't wait to see the rest of this. I don't doubt that it's going to be great because the rest of the season has been incredible. And the one thing I want to know is can they top last week's episode? Or is that just going to be the peak of the show? Because last week was incredible. I don't know how they could top it, but just considering the writing of this, I have no doubt that they are able to do it. But please let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.